This is the Red Podcast.
It's Red Podcast, the marketing podcast for experts. My name is David Hooper, and for the last 25 years, I have been helping experts, people just like you, to spread messages, get people to their live events, sell their books, their music, their movies, make people care about what they do. If you're interested in that, you are in the right place. On this episode, I've got what I call a Hall of Shame event. Sometimes things happen, and I put it online just as a teachable moment to say, never, ever, ever do this. And this is something that was posted by a fellow podcaster, Jeff Brown. You may know him from the Read to Lead podcast. This is something that happened to him. I'm not throwing him in the Hall of Shame. He does a good job. But he posted this on a Facebook group that I am in for podcasters. And I thought it was something that would be valuable here because you, no doubt, have run into this. You may be doing this yourself. And if you are, stop it. I find it pretty common with newer entrepreneurs, with people who maybe have quit their jobs recently, or they're just desperate. They're doing anything that they can to try to make money, to try to survive, keep their head above water. And I get that. But one of the things that I've learned, as I mentioned, being in this business for 25 years or so, is that you've got to play the long game, man. There are short-term wins and there are long-term wins. And if you want to be like me or the people that I work with, you got to think long-term. A lot of people come, they make a lot of money very quickly, and then they disappear. You do not want to be that person. For one, money runs out. But also, what are you going to do next? You make that money, you burn all your bridges, and you're chasing it, man. It's like that first hit of heroin. You ever known a heroin addict? I worked in the music business for a long time. That was a lot of the audience building that I was doing. And I know a lot of guys that are on drugs, and they always talk about that. They said, man, I've just been chasing that first hit. People do that with money as well. So this is a letter from Jeff Brown. He said this. He said, have you ever had someone who makes the occasional offer to introduce you to potential guests, but then reminds you each time that you failed to mention them on your website afterwards or in the episode? I had that happen once. Here's my response. Feel free to make it your own. So Jeff's a podcaster. He's got people introducing him to potential guests. And sometimes those potential guests become guests. And these people who introduce him to these guests, they're looking for credit. And here's what he said back to the guy. He said, I want to offer a word of advice, if I may be so bold, as I'm not sure you realize how your requests are being received. I feel as if you've turned what could have been natural, helpful introductions into cold, calculated transactions. I complied the first time as a gesture of goodwill. However, the expectation that I'll include a mention every time you make an introduction doesn't sit well with me. Put another way, it's like you provided me a service I didn't seek out and are now sending me an invoice. The words, the only real leverage I receive is, from your email, is a red flag to me. The leverage you receive is what happens when you bring great people together with no expectation. The trust you build by making the lives around you better. The long-term success that will eventually come when you don't keep score. If you choose to make introductions in the future, please do so because you enjoy working with me, not because there might be a kickback for you. I only want people who truly appreciate my work and want to be part of it to actually be part of it. I will add your name to the show notes page for this episode. This will be the last time I do this, however. I hope you understand and wish you all the best. Now, that is not something that I would have sent back personally. What I would have done is dropped it. I make an effort not to put energy into that kind of thing. And that's not a criticism of Jeff. I'm not sure what his relationship with this person was. He felt it was important to respond to it. He shared that in the group, which is how I found out about it. And maybe he's doing this guy a service. It depends how it was received. I think the intention was, hey man, knock it off. This isn't a good idea for you to be doing this because you're going to turn some people off. Like I said, I would have been turned off by it and I would have been done with it. There are relationships that I've had for many years that I have dropped when somebody comes back and said, oh yeah, I thought because I did this that you would do this. So, whoa. No. I thought you were just being nice. I thought that is how the relationship we had worked. Obviously, I was wrong about that. Do I mention it? No. And I think a lot of people won't mention it, which is why I'm mentioning it here. On my blog, bigpodcast.com, I have examples of this again and again and again, specifically for podcasters, specifically for people who are trying to get guests booked on podcast or trying to do podcasting related things. But you, as an expert, somebody who's getting a message out in whatever mode you do that, books, live events, broadcast radio, movies, podcasting, however you're getting your message out, it works the same way. Business is business. Relationships are relationships. Got all this technology. I can text you. I can call you. I can make a quick video and send that to you. That does not change the relationships and how humans view relationships. We want to be respected. We want to know that we can trust you. And this guy, when he asked for a link or a mention or whatever he was asking for from Jeff, he heard that. It's something I call hooker versus wife. I've written about this many, many times. And this could be for anybody, not just a wife. But I want you to think about this. You're with somebody that you love. You're with your partner, your girlfriend, your wife, your husband. You embrace that person. And then that person says, that'll be $5. Or if they're a high-end person, that'll be $50, $100, whatever the price is. It doesn't matter if it's $5 or $500. It kills the relationship and the trust that you had. If your mother bakes you chocolate chip cookies, here, dear, thought you could use these chocolate chip cookies. Have a plate. And you eat those cookies. You say, man, Mom, those are delicious. Thank you. And she says, honey, I'll send the bill to you. You get an invoice for $5. Or if it's a high-end mother with high-end cookies with only premium ingredients, $50, Mom, thought we had a different kind of relationship. Think about that. Hooker versus wife. That is the name of this. Do not do it in your business. I'm this way. I think that you are this way. When people do nice things for us, we like to do nice things in return. It doesn't always show up in the way that we think it might, assuming we go in there with any expectations. I'm not saying to have expectations. I'm saying when we do something nice, the tendency is law of reciprocity that somebody wants to do something nice in return. Another podcaster I know was having a problem the other day. She had messed up audio. She sent me the audio. I said, let's get on the phone. I got some questions about how you recorded this audio. It's easier for us to have a phone conversation. We get on the phone. I resolve her problem, kinda. Send her to somebody else. And she asked me, is there anything I can do for you? I said, no. I don't want to come off like that guy. I was doing it because I respect her. Let's call it professional courtesy. I've had people do that for me. And sometimes that's how these things work. Sometimes you help one person and somebody completely different helps you. If everybody has this attitude, we're all helping each other out. Thanks to Jeff Brown for the idea for this episode. If you want to go see what he's doing, he's got a podcast called Read to Lead. Wherever you get your podcast, you can search for it, Read to Lead. He interviews authors that write nonfiction, business, self-help, personal growth, that kind of thing. And if you're interested in that, Jeff Brown at Read to Lead, look him up. I will have a link in the episode notes. That will be at redpodcast.com. And if you need help, if you want to spread your message via podcasting, broadcasting, that is what I specialize in. Again, I've been doing this for a long, long time. I know what it takes to build an audience. I can help you. And if you want to find out more about that, here's the website, bigpodcast.com. If you've got a podcast or if you just want a podcast, I've got some episode templates there. These are fill-in-the-blank templates that get listeners. They will make it easy for you to design episodes that people want to hear, that people share with each other, that people hear and want to be part of. Everything is at bigpodcast.com. I appreciate you. Let me give you one more URL. This has everything. It has Red Podcast, this podcast. It has my other podcasts on podcasting, my sister podcast. You will be completely covered by going to this URL. And that is bigpodcast.com/subscribe. You'll get every episode of Red. You'll get every episode, if you want, of those other podcasts that I mentioned, the sister podcast, very specifically about building audiences via podcasting. bigpodcast.com/subscribe. I will see you there, and I will see you here on the next episode of Red Podcast. Thanks for listening.